This is a Flying Cow production.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Great Film Challenge. I, of course, am the Flying Cow himself, Clay Johnson, and here with me today is my nephew, Aaron. Aaron, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. This is, of course, the podcast where Aaron and I are watching through a designated list of 100 films that you should watch before you die. Some of those are a little more iffy than others, I would say, but so far we've gotten some pretty good ones.
Yeah, I really like a lot of these.
Yeah, so today we actually have, I think, actually a pretty important action film. We are talking, of course, about 1984's The Terminator. This was, like I said, it came out in 1984. It was directed by James Cameron. And this film was, it wasn't Cameron's first film, but it was like the one that put him on the map, I think, pretty much. Before this, he had done, he had directed Piranha 2, but a lot of that was kind of taken away from him. You know, it definitely wasn't what he wanted it to be. This was really his first, kind of conceptually, his first big film. And, this, like I said, it put a lot of things in motion for him. This is, like I said, it's a groundbreaking action film, because, it did a lot of things that, now are kind of seen as, by modern standards, maybe a little silly or even commonplace, but it pioneered a lot of these things. I was wondering, in watching this, have you seen many films that incorporate stop motion with live action?
No, not really. And that was honestly interesting to see,
Mhm.
especially towards the end when they started incorporating that with
Yeah,
like the Terminator skeleton, which I actually really enjoyed seeing.
Okay, yeah, because it obviously it's an older technique. There are definitely some of the earlier scenes, like when he's like doing like the eye thing or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I mean, by modern standards, obviously the head looks pretty fake.
Yeah.
But I think for the time, it's I think, even though, like I said, by modern standards it looks fake, that head is really well done.
Yeah.
Even by modern standards, even by the standards of, okay, you can tell that it's like a mask, it's not a real head, but it looks so much like Arnold, just not alive.
Yeah. I haven't seen enough to say like the same thing to the like exact same degree, but I've
Sure.
seen a bit
Mm-hmm.
of like the 80s stuff.
Sure.
So I feel like I could definitely agree. I just haven't seen as much.
Sure. So, I mean, you had never seen this movie going in, but you said you had seen the second one.
So I tried to watch it forever ago, and then we stopped.
Okay.
And then I don't remember where. But then I watched Terminator 2 at some point.
Sure. Well, and I will say, honestly, after the point that Terminator 2 came out, I dare say there were a lot of people that skipped this one just because Terminator 2 was such a blockbuster. Like
Yeah.
this one, like I said, it was very influential, but it was also, it was pretty low budget for the time that it came out. Like I said, it came out in 84. It only had a $6 million budget, which, like I said, for 84 is pretty low, but it made 78 million.
Oh wow.
So yeah, the return on that is
A
pretty
lot.
good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So I mean, obviously this one made the second one possible, honestly made a lot of the rest of James Cameron's career possible. But
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people forgot about this one or unfairly maligned it because of the impact of Terminator 2.
Uh-huh.
And I will say, I honestly have always really liked this one because it kind of reminds me of like the difference between Alien and Aliens, because much like
Oh yeah.
those two, the first one really is a small, kind of intimate horror movie,
Uh-huh.
And the second one is much more of an action film.
Yeah.
Lots more a bigger body count.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more. I mean, obviously, there's a pretty sizable body count in this one too.
Yeah.
But we're really kind of following Kyle Reese
Yeah.
and Sarah Connor as they're being chased by the Terminator.
Uh-huh.
Now, did you know that in this one Arnold was the villain?
I think I did, but not as much as like is displayed in the movie.
Sure.
I knew like what role he played. Of
Right.
course, like as the Terminator hunting Sarah down.
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, now I want to watch the second because I don't remember how the transition between him being evil and
Sure.
not evil.
Right. I mean, obviously,
'Cause I forgot.
he's just, he's a robot. He's
Yeah.
just a program. So, there's that will definitely come into that. But what I find interesting, and I always try when I'm watching a film, and obviously I've seen this movie several times.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't introduced to this one until I was actually older than you. I think I was in my 20s the first time I saw this film.
Oh wow.
Actually both films. I think I had seen like bits of the second one, like, on like television and
Yeah.
things like that. But this one didn't play as often. So I didn't see either one of them in their entirety till I was like in my 20s. But by that point, Terminator was so in the zeitgeist, in the culture, that everybody kind of knew the beats.
Yeah.
I knew that Arnold was the good guy in the second one and the bad guy in the first one. I knew, that they were after Sarah Connor. I knew Kyle Reese was, who Kyle Reese was.
Uh-huh.
But I will often, when I'm rewatching an older movie like this, try to reset my brain and think about what it would have been like to watch this movie when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
Before anything was known, before there was any sort of IP with Terminator, before the second one existed, before anybody knew anything,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of take note of the things that people would have possibly been shocked by
Yeah.
or the way that they would have seen certain characters in in when this came out in 84. And I think that they do a really good job of setting you on the back foot from the very beginning, because although you're pretty sure that the Terminator's not a good dude,
Uh-huh.
because he kills people pretty quick,
Yeah.
right off the bat. Kyle, you also don't know his, you know, why he's there. If maybe he's in on it with the Terminator.
Yeah, because he was really suspicious at first, especially from a new point of view.
Right. Well, and obviously, when Sarah first sees him, she assumes that he must be a guy. He must be. She must be the. He must be the guy
Yeah,
who
the
has
serial
killed
killer.
the previous.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the previous Sarahs. And it's not until, I mean, honestly, it takes a while for her to gain trust in him, which honestly I really appreciate, because a lot of films in the last, honestly, like 20-15 years, those relationships are built a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I get for a lot of them, it's so that we can get into the action, so that we can get in.
Yeah.
But I like how this one, it takes Sarah a while for her to trust Reese, and it makes sense.
Yeah, the more that I prefer there to be like more development with like the story and the characters and all that, because then it's much more immersive and just enjoyable in general.
Yeah. And so by the time that she's on board with Reese, so is the audience.
Yeah.
Whereas when you fast track that, if there's not just outrageous chemistry between the two actors, it can leave the audience going, wait, hold on, why are we okay with him all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So I do like that it takes that time to build that relationship with Sarah and with the audience. But yeah, I mean, what did you find interesting that you didn't know about Terminator as a whole before you watched this movie?
I'm not sure. There was a good bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Like throughout the whole thing.
Like what kinds of things? Were there things about Sarah Connor or things about Kyle? I mean, obviously, this is probably the first time you've seen the character of Kyle Reese.
Yeah.
Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn. And then obviously Sarah Connor's played by Linda Hamilton. And then, we all know Arnold.
Yeah.
I will say, though, this is kind of was a launching pad for Arnold too. Before this, he'd done
the bodybuilding, right?
Well, he'd done bodybuilding, but this wasn't his first movie. He had done a Hercules movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had played Hercules in, what was it? I think it was like Hercules in New York or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like fun bad movies to watch, because okay, no, I forgot. He had also done Conan before this. Conan was really what put him on the map, but this kind of continued that trajectory, and from here, it really was still a bit of a launching pad. But yeah, I can't pull the name of that Hercules movie quickly, but it was silly. It was pretty silly. But yeah, so like I said, we've got Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese and Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. Have you seen Michael Biehn in anything else?
I don't recognize his name.
Okay. I will say you've probably seen him in a couple things. You just don't. I mean, around this time, it looked like Michael Biehn was probably going to have a pretty solid career.
Uh-huh.
But he ended up really just kind of playing like this type of character a lot, and it never went higher for him. He was also in another James Cameron film. Soon after this, he was in Alien 2. Or Aliens. Alien 2. What am I talking about? Aliens. And in that, it was actually pitched, they were pitched as like a family dynamic kind of thing. But unfortunately, his character got killed off in between the second and the third one. But and that kind of thing happened to him a lot. Like things were planned and it just never happened. But I like him in this type of role because he's a character that you kind of trust, like because he is often a character that gets his ass kicked, but he keeps working hard. Very much like Kyle in this. He gets destroyed over and over and over again, and just keeps defending Sarah until ultimately he meets his demise. But so I mean, did you even know that Kyle Reese was John Connor's father?
I kind of figured. It was just like one of those things that felt like not obvious, but you just like subconsciously know it feels that way.
Sure. Well, and especially when she's like, "Who's the father?" And it's like, maybe it's him. Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about this film before we go in, or before we continue? Steam's coming out of his ears, folks. He's leaking a little bit.
I think it was just really interesting and pretty good overall.
Yeah.
If I had to pick like a favorite part or just favorite bit of it, I'd say more towards the end when we were seeing how they like incorporated the Terminator's like skeleton.
Oh, okay.
Because it was really detailed. It felt like way more detailed than any of the other special effects stuff.
Sure. And I mean, definitely impressive for the time. I mean, obviously, like we said, they're definitely using a stop motion model for some sequences, but then I think in some of the close-ups, they're doing more of like a puppet style.
And honestly, it looked really good in some parts too.
Yeah. All right. Well, then want to go ahead and let people know how they can get in contact with us. So, of course, you can contact us at the Flying Cow Pod on all of our socials. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com. And, don't forget to like and subscribe here on the podcast. We are on YouTube Music, so feel free to like and subscribe there. That would definitely help us out. But Aaron, I think it is time for us to go ahead and decide the next film that we will be watching. So we have done the Unseen Wheel a few times in a row here. Are we going to do another Unseen, or are we going with the Seen this time?
Let's do another Unseen.
Another Unseen. All right. So go ahead and spin that wheel and let's see what we got.
Oh.
What do we get?
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show. All right.
I feel like if I'm thinking of the right movie, I feel like I've actually seen that.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I mean, we will see. We will see. I mean, I will say, if you didn't remember that you'd seen it, you probably weren't paying attention.
I remember that. It's a funny movie. The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, so you think you have seen it?
I have seen it.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Then we will be. So we spun the unseen wheel and we got a scene. That's
okay. It was forever ago, but I'd like to watch it again. It was
well,
really
there
funny.
you go. All right. So we will be talking next time about the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
That's gonna be fun.
But until that time, moo.